Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this is another Casual Kuntarkis. We're going to be covering a few different things, but mostly I think it'll be communication between different alien races. And also we're going to answer some extra questions about the Dorican Dragon Society, who we covered in our last episode.
So, hello, Kuntarkis, and my first question is about their fire breathing. What is with that? Why would a species evolve to literally be able to breathe fire?
Well, that's a really interesting question, Michael. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question, but it's like if you're walking down the street, right, and you're seeing two people and two men say, and they're having a massive argument, right, and they got their faces nearly touching each other and they're screaming at each other, and all this saliva is going back and forth. Well, it's pretty well much like a dragon, isn't it? He can actually shoot fire, but that's his defense or her defense. They can literally create fire. To actually ask the question, why do they breathe fire, would be nearly an impossible answer, because it's a natural phenomenon with, say, a species called dragons. There is actually an animal that breathes smoke. I was told by a person many years ago in the Amazon, it literally can puff up its neck and pour out this smoke that's actually very hot, but no fire. There are snakes that can shoot venom right at your face. They know exactly where it's going to go. They can literally look at you in the eye and shoot it, and it'll hit your eye. So there are a lot of creatures that have projectiles. And I think a dragon is actually a very, very similar thing, just a different phenomenon, where they can actually breathe fire. Yeah, and the interesting thing, Michael, is that fire is so hot, if it literally hits you and you were holding up a massive sheet of metal, it would melt metal in a very short period of time because of its intensity of heat.
Wow. Wow, that's mad.
It is. It's quite mad, actually, when you really think about it.
I had a friend who discovered, like, somehow he came across what might have been literally a fossilized dragon on Earth, and they went through it and they found this duct that went through the body that literally would have been to help with creating fire. So
yes.
It was amazing. They could kind of make sense of how fire could have been made.
Well, yeah. There are dinosaurs back in dinosaur time, 69, 70 million years ago, that they showed that it had a funneling system in the head where they could put their neck up, stretch it to the sky, and release this massive, like, bugle sound.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a known fact. And a lot of the actual dinosaurs, when they scream out or roar out, they do put their head slightly forward and stretch their neck. And it literally opens up and releases a sound. It's like an elephant. An elephant can do the same thing. It has the same type of structure within its head. And when it sucks in the air, it can blast out quite a heavy sound. And it can blast out water at a tremendous speed, knock you to the ground.
Wow.
So every creature has its own phenomenon.
Sure. My next question, I feel a little silly asking it, but I'm just curious, and it's two-part. Firstly, it's everyone, but also, like, when Tang Yung, you said that he came down, he was the very first one to show in front of a huge audience. He swirled around, came down as a dragon, and then transformed and landed as a human on this big rock in front of everyone. Obviously, he would have landed naked, right?
That's right.
Right. And so every other dragon, when they transform back into human from being dragon, also they transform naked.
That's very true. But there's one difference. When the Nicarons were actually guiding them through their techniques, they also naturally, a question would have been asked somewhere through their history. But what about if we transform back wherever we are, we'll be actually naked. And won't we have the same type of genitals that another species would have that are exposed? Well, there are a lot of alien beings that actually don't have exposed genitals. The Nicarons don't, right? Cadiz race doesn't. And by the way, I did find out the other day when I was actually writing, I was getting all this information. I found out their society, what their name is, and also the name of their planet. But it's an unusual name, so I'd have to go back in my book and read it to you. So we'll do that another time.
Sure. You finally found it out, which is awesome. And now you tell me, and then you say, after all this time trying to know their name, you finally got their name and you can't recall it.
Well, would you like to wait just a sec here, and I'll just go to the page. I'm sure I wrote it in this other book. Just one moment.
So this is
I'll find it.
This is a race of beings that evolved from insects. They're similar looking to the greys, but more highly evolved, and they're white color. And Kuntarkis has been friends with Kadi this life for a while, and I'm guessing many great history of time has been between the two of you, right? You and
That's
Kadi?
very true. That's very true. Kadi actually stands just a fraction over a meter tall, and yes, you're right. They have evolved from an insect of some description, but a much larger insect than what you'd see, like, say, a praying mantis on our planet. And that's about evolution. Like, humanity came into existence naturally through evolution from the Neanderthals, but Neanderthals were either apes or gorillas, and that's where man originally came. Now, what's really interesting about Kadi's race, their creatures that they've actually evolved into were also quite large, which they may have stood like, say, 80 centimeters high. And when they came into existence as their race that is now, they were just over a meter tall. And a lot of them look the same, but when they express, they're very different when it comes to their own personalities. And they also have the ability to connect consciously as one entire population, wherever they are. They can be 1 billion kilometers away. Yet if they literally, say their nation literally did some form of transcendental meditation and projected this energy, the one that's all that distance away would pick it up as if it's like you're on a telephone. They have that ability. And that ability is to do with the front pineal gland. Right? So it's quite amazing. Their gland in the front, like ours, would be at least between 4 to 5 centimeters in shape, where ours is probably only about 1.5 centimeters. Wow. We've allowed ourselves to degenerate from our own consciousness because of becoming so physical in our logical thinking that we've accepted nothing but logic. And we've accepted the idea of religion as our God, but it hasn't helped us to regrow our natural spirituality, because that is something an individual has to seek. Can be guided, but has to still seek and still want to seek. That's the important thing, Michael. Yeah, okay, their planet, a strange name. So short, it's OPPLUTA. So that would be like Olupta or something like that. It's a strange name. I've got to get used to it.
OPP, so Oplata?
Oplata. That's, yeah, Michael, I like that because that's what I picked up originally, but I couldn't work out what I said. And their actual civilization as a being, I'll just look at this for a second. Atashkaniz. It's ATUSHCARNEES. So it's a really unusual name. but that is the name of their species. And the other one is the name of their planet. Maybe one day we should do an episode on Cadiz race, how they live in their society.
Yeah.
That might be interesting.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, going back to your question about, they would actually appear as being, say, naked. But their body structure is so different to humanity that their genitals in a male, and like, say, their penis, it's actually up inside. And it doesn't come out unless they consciously think of it to go, say, for a pee or to be intimate, that type of thing.
Sure.
So there are a lot of races like that, Michael, and it's the same with the women. It's the same principle.
A lot of there are, I guess, a lot of aliens that just don't even use clothes anyway.
That's very true. Cadiz race never used any form of clothes. I'm talking like thousands upon thousands of years. And then they started wearing what they call skin tight, which is it's just a body fit.
Yeah.
They're not into loose clothing because they don't carry fat, and they're quite cute in their own form as their race. Mm. Yeah, very, very nice.
Well, look forward to. You should invite her though. You should say, "Hey, we're going to do an episode on you and your people. Why don't you come down and?"
Yeah, I wish you would.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Surely you can pull some strings, Kuntarkis.
Oh, Michael, it's not that easy. You know, we got to realize the Nicarons, they're not crazy about, like, the Nicarons, right? They're not crazy about having different races come to their world. Now, Cadi goes there, the Ilias go there, even the Hemazines were invited there, and they did go there once, which is the actual vampires as we know it from our past history. Right? So their civilization, wow. And they're the ones that were responsible for taking tremendous amounts of animals off this planet, and they were all vegetarian because the humans were so toxic in their blood, it nearly killed and wiped out their race. So they literally have removed massive amounts of creatures off this planet.
Do you think the Hemazines will, go back again to visit the Nicarons by invitation?
No, I don't think so. No, I think there was not an ill effect or an issue. I just think that the Nicarons realize that at this time in their own evolution, they will not be changing their ways of habits. It's still actually a negative habit in a way, because you're relying on animals to produce your foods. Even though the Hemazines don't kill the animals, they look after them very well, especially compared to what happens to animals on planet Earth. But I don't think so. But the Nicarons have a system set up, and they would never bring a human, say, onto Nicaris without going through their screenings, which actually removes all the emotions and all the negative cellular structure. And it goes into a vacuum. It's identified by your blood DNA, and it goes into a portal. And when you leave, you go back through the machine like a reverse, and it's reconnected back into your body. So you take all your emotions and your negatives in your cellular structure with you. So while you're there, you're actually in a real heart, atmosphere. And there's no negativity. You never get arguments on Nicaris. It's quite an amazing planet, the way they exist.
Mm. I was half joking about getting her on the podcast, but just to clarify for people, you've I think people would love to hear this. You've actually physically met with her on Earth several times during this lifetime, haven't you?
I have, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She can do a projection. She can project herself here. She hasn't now for several years. And when I say several years, I mean about 3.5 to 4 years. Because I know that ever since she's become now the ambassador, she does do a lot of traveling. And she's also connected with the Doricans when they go out on ventures for global agreements. Kadi actually is invited along because of the way she expresses. She's very, very knowledgeable and very wise.
Wow. Yeah, and she's about 400 years old now, isn't she? Actually, you told me her exact age at one point.
Yeah, she'd be getting up close there, mate. Yes. Yeah, close. That's 400, say, years, if that's the case, that's to human time. Our world vibration here is very, very different to other worlds because they live in a very different vibrational, how would you say, frequency. Very different.
Well, maybe like talking about languages and the pineal gland. Pineal gland? Pineal gland.
Yeah, pineal
gland. So there's 3 ways of saying it, is there?
Yeah, there is actually, yes.
Can we talk about that as it relates to maybe her, but also definitely we were going to talk about it with the Doricans. Yes. And then also the Nicarans, and also if we could lead in from that to how, especially the Nicarans, are so evolved that they are able to converse with other races, even if they are speaking different languages. They have a conscious intelligence within themselves that converts so that they can speak their own language. I just find that amazing. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. You want to talk about that now?
All those 4 things, yes.
Okay. Well, you remind me of them, but I'll go with this one first.
All right.
It's a very easy process to how would you say, to accomplish, but it takes self-awareness and thought consciousness in any species. It doesn't matter who the species is. If you want to grow beyond what you are, you have to put the time and effort into it. You can't do it if you have, say, first, second, or third dimensional people around you that want to laugh at you, because that's just showing their arrogance and their rudeness. Conscious growth is one of the most important essentials to grow as a being, because what it gives you is the ability to connect through living energy to any species in the entire universe. And when I say the entire universe, we have trillions of universes. If we look at the major one aspect of all those trillions of universes within one massive structure, you would never ever reach the outer edge in probably 10,000 lives. Or what I mean is 10,000 incarnations. If you tried each time you say died, reborn, it would just take you so long. And that's how vast the universe is. But when it comes to communication, it has to start with the development of the pineal gland. If you sat peacefully in your own space with, say, maybe some very soft, quiet music to calm every thought, every chatter that's going on in your logical brain, over a period of time, that chatter would begin to stop. And what you would start to feel is what is called an emptiness. In other words, all your thoughts, all your chattering is now subsided. And what you've got left is an empty vessel. And in that empty vessel, you have living energy that gives you the ability through your pineal gland to project your thought consciousness to whoever or wherever you want it to go. It can go to infinity or to the man next door or the woman next door, if that's what you're seeking. But it's taking the time to develop it through discipline of oneself. And all you do is sit. The music will calm you, balance you, and what you visualize is a ball of energy coming out of your heart and totally engrossing your entire being by covering it like a veil. And then what you put is your concentration to the center of your brow, and you can just see a small ball of light there spinning. And what you do is project a thought to anyone, but it's got to be a positive thought. If you do it negatively, it will harm you and it will stop and you won't be able to do it. That's the protection. So you don't become evil, like we got all these evil people on earth at the present moment trying to kill us all. But if you project pure love from your pineal gland to anything or anyone or anywhere, and you concentrate on that and work on it through discipline, you will achieve it. When you achieve it, it will literally change the way you think, the way you see life. Your old self will start to dissolve away from you. Your emotions will begin to dissipate and you'll no longer feel uptight, nervous, stressed out, because you won't put yourself in that position to be able to live like that. You'll start to live more openly, more happily, and more balanced. And that's actually a really simple way of looking at it. What you're better off doing, if you can find a teacher of heart to teach it through a class method, maybe once a week, or, twice a week, or just once a month, whatever the time factor you can afford, you can do it that way. And that is a much more disciplined way if you don't have a place where you can go and sit quiet. But that's the way to do it, Michael. And that's the way to do it in anything in your life.
Right. And so, like, the Nicarans, for example, could actually meet a new race and could instantly be able to converse with them face to face because of this same method.
Exactly. Now, to give you an example, only the 3-4 days ago at night, I actually sat on my bed, I have this big bed head that's up the back, and I sat there by myself. And just before we went to bed, and I just sat there and I did exactly what I was just talking about. And then I projected an energy field from my pineal gland directly out in front of me about 2 meters, maybe 3. And my thoughts were on Kanag. I wanted to find out some information. So I tried this method. About probably 15 minutes passed, and I nearly was going to stop. Then suddenly, with my eyes still closed, I saw a light in front of me, and the light was starting to take on shape. Within 10 seconds, I had Kanag sitting in front of me.
Wow.
And naturally, you keep your eyes closed. You see through your third eye. And he was in an energy form. And we conversed for about another 15 minutes. And I realized that I broke a barrier. So I tried it with my father, Yakis Kardis. And the same thing happened. It only took 3 minutes. And he was sitting, just like me, in front of me about 2 meters away. And we had a conversation, but he's much taller because he's about 12 foot, 13 foot tall. So that's a pretty big being. And we conversed about different things, especially what I've just written in my new book, The Dream Assassin, Volume 2, in the last chapter. So it worked out really well. So what I'm saying, Michael, when you do healings the same way, because you can project energy. And if you want to use your heart first, see your heart projecting this beautiful feeling energy of warmth up into your third eye, where your pineal gland sits. And then through your pineal gland, your third eye, project it to whoever you want in pure love or for communication. It may not happen for a week, a month, a year, but it will happen if you put the effort and discipline yourself in doing it. And that goes for anyone.
So do you think with your father and your brother that you just conversed with, that they might have physically just continued on with their life, but a part of them showed up? Or do you think they literally paused in their life and connected with you totally?
They paused.
Wow.
Because I was sending that message out that I wished to convey with them. Yeah. And they literally stopped doing what they were doing.
Wow.
Now, I know Kuntarkis was on Nakaris. He came down from the dimension that he was in back into his physical body because there is something that he's actually involved in at the moment with a race of beings. And I know that he literally would have said to his brothers and sisters, I am being summoned. I must leave now for, whatever time it may have been, how long it's going to take. And he would have then just found a room where he could actually go and just sit down and project his own thoughts back to me and say, I am here. And he would then go into like a transcendental meditation where you go very deep. And that was the same with me. And we connected through our pineal gland. Now, admitting that his pineal gland is at least 3 to 4 times much larger than mine. So it would be a lot easier for him, where I haven't really done this way a lot, but I'm now doing it and I'm finding it's working 100%.
Yeah, I'm really happy for you that's come up.
Thank you.
Broken that barrier. That's so awesome.
Well, my next one is now as Tang Yung and also with Kadi. So I'm going to try that with them and see how that goes.
And they're like, oh, why is Kuntarkis bothering me right now?
Yeah, exactly. God, geez, never leaves me alone.
So the Doricans, did you say that their pineal gland is actually quite large and always was?
It's actually one of the largest that I know of in the universe.
Wow.
Yes, because it must have something to do with being a dragon and having the ability to what they were originally. Because you see, like in a dog, for instance, right, or a cat's pineal gland, say percentage-wise, is at least 2.5 times larger than ours.
Wow.
Because it's got to do also with a lot of instinct. Instinct plays a big part. It's like saying, yes, I know. That's exactly right. I know it, I know it, I know it. And you believe it. And that's instinct. It's like a gut feeling. You heard the saying, gut feeling. It's the same expression. And animals have a larger pineal gland than humans because we don't understand, how would you say, the value of it, but also we don't live like animals. Now, animals out in the wild, like a deer, for instance, they have a much larger pineal gland because they live out there and they are ready for a lot of things, not just their life being threatened, but a lot of things. And they're not caught up in a system where it literally retards you. And that's what all the governments around the world, through these maniacs, the cabal, and especially this world leader now, they class him as the world leader, Bill Gates. That's what they're doing. They're actually dumbing humanity out through the vaccines because they believe that you're going to end up with dozens of these vaccines over the next 8 years. Because they got a plan from 2020 to 2030 to spread diseases by the thousands within humanity.
And that'll make the pineal gland smaller and smaller.
Absolutely. And maybe one day it might just vanish. And you know what? It takes a lot to wake up, Michael. When your pineal gland gets so small, it takes a lot to wake that up because you've got to grow. You got to grow in your thinking. And thought consciousness is the way that you do it. You believe through your thoughts. You project so much energy and power through your thoughts. It's like your will that you will do it. And that's what they don't like. The cabal and all that don't like individuality. You mention the word individuality and they want to shoot you.
Speaking of the pineal gland and the Doricans and languages. I know that there's something that you can share about them there. Is it because I know, like, initially they would just kind of roar at each other, and I'm not really sure how much of that was very intelligent. But is there something there you can tell us about when they learnt Sanskrit and how they were so? Were they able to pick it up really quickly, or?
Okay. All right. First of all, they were able to pick it up quite quickly, which was quite amazing to the Nakarons. One of the things the Nakarons have done, especially with the Ilias had their own language originally, and they really loved the actual structure of Sanskrit because that was a universal language. And that's why so many people have learnt out in different universes Sanskrit, because it's one of the languages that is so short when it comes to a sentence. In English, you might read, say, 5 lines. In Sanskrit, you might only have to say 4 words, 5 words to actually give out the same meaning. So it's a lot more simplified. But the Nakarons have worked with living energy for basically 27 million years in their entire existence. And they've always believed that there was a force far greater than them. And they started to think it, feel it, nearly smell it and taste it. And every time they touched a tree, ate a fruit, they realized that they were eating living energy. Now, when you change your consciousness to think like that, and you raise your children to think like that, it becomes a reality throughout the entire civilization. And what the Nakarons have learnt, they have learnt through their own technology how to formulate the cellular structure through machines that they invented, so you could literally talk to another world and they would you could talk in Sanskrit to them. Normally they would never understand you. But as soon as they start expressing Sanskrit, they could literally understand what you were saying in their own language, and vice versa. They have that in their own consciousness now. They can literally look at you and project this energy through their consciousness, which has really evolved tremendously, and they can make you understand what they are saying to you, and you will understand what they are expressing to you. Now, you heard the saying, I've said this many times, energy is everything, and everything is energy. If we could grasp that concept in its own reality and digest it into our consciousness, we would be a very different being, and we would be able to communicate with whatever we wanted to, including animals. The reason I say that, when the Nakarons first thought they were going to have a massive battle with the Dorican dragons all those years ago, they started to project a field of thought consciousness at the dragons. And they were doing it over and over and over and over and over again. Until one day, when they were doing it, one of the dragons was roaring these different sounds, and suddenly it spoke. It said a word like saying, I understand what you said. And the other dragons were just horrified that this dragon was speaking a different language to them. So that dragon could then communicate with all the other dragons into how they can also achieve the same outcome. And they did. And all it took was patience and practice with willingness. And when you've got the willingness to change, everything falls into place. But when you've got a society, and I don't mean this in a negative way, how humanity has gone through its entire history in violence, it condenses into a negative state, a negative energy. And it is so hard to break out of that if you don't understand change through self-awareness. And that's how the Nicarons got through to the Dorican dragons. It's projection. And if I had you in front of me, Michael, and I said, okay, Michael, we're going to project our thoughts, and I'm going to do it first, and I'm going to keep doing it. And then I'm just going to look at you and get you to project your thoughts to me, even if it's one word or one picture. If we did that for, say, weeks or months, it wouldn't take too long if we're full vegetarians on a good diet, cleansed our bodies, we would be able to pick up what they say on this earth as being telepathic. And that's what the Nicarons do naturally.
All the Nicarons are... Yeah, you said in a previous episode that if two Nicarons that don't even know each other happen to sit in front of each other for 5 minutes or so, just to converse with each other and be with each other's energies for a while, after that they will be able to...
be telepathic.
Be telepathic for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. Yes, wow. Absolutely. And if you knew, say, like someone was out in space and you heard back at home that there was another ship after you, you could then literally just go into a quiet moment and project and connect with that being on that ship, a particular being, by sending thought waves to that being. And if they're in that moment of picking it up, it could save the entire ship from being attacked and exploded.
Wow.
The Nicarons have always believed that there is no such thing as impossibility. And the only things that create impossibilities are the individuals. And that's why these morons, the cabal and all that, are working on our emotions to pull us down further and further to control. As I said before, that's how they did it to the Jews, Hitler, through the Second World War. They're using the same technique, just different circumstances. And it's worked. Because look how many people have gone and got the injections. Look how many people don't care that the media is telling them all lies. Completely. Because it's owned by the big knobs, the elite. So thought projection can be a really, really good thing for your own development in consciousness, but it can also work against you if you're a negative person.
Interesting. Kuntarkis, I believe you have a bit more to share about dragons.
Do you know of all the different dragons we see right around the world today, in China and all those places? Mm-hmm. The dragons in China have got little legs and look snake-like bodies and dragon heads.
Yeah.
Right? Well, all around the world, many, many different civilizations, thousands and thousands and thousands of years prior humanity, which is 1 million years, they were brought here by different aliens. Some were pets. In fact, a lot were pets. Some were just brought here. And that's the reason why dragons seem so prominent on planet Earth. They never had dragons to begin with. The only dragons, if you want to call it a dragon, would have been the dinosaurs. And there were no real dragons within the dinosaurs. Not the way we believe a dragon is. But all those dragons were brought here originally and died out. They all died out eventually when the aliens were leaving, fighting, killing, and that's just the way the history went.
Right.
There were some very evil-looking dragons too, as there were some very evil-looking alien societies that came here to try and rape the earth. And they used to they used to attack a lot of the ships that were leaving Earth to take back their riches to their planet. And they would attack the ships and threaten to blow them all up if they didn't come back to their planet with their ships. And a lot of those ships didn't carry big armory. And that's why a lot of ships disappeared. It's quite incredible to what actually did take, what did happen all those years ago.
And so, wow. And back on Doricea, like, were there several different kind of races of dragons there themselves, some that look different to others?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there were. Yeah, but none like the ones that are predicted in China, like snakes.
No.
No, they were real dragons, but they were different shaped dragons. Some had really large wings, some had smaller wings, different shaped wings. Some had long necks, some had short necks. Some had long protruded faces, others had wide faces.
Some you said didn't breathe fire.
No, there was quite a few that did breathe fire.
Oh, yeah.
But there was also those that didn't breathe fire. And you also got to realize they all evolved from different types of creatures at the beginning. Oh. Just like humans, you have the Westerners, the Africans, and the Chinese, all that type of thing. Different races of people, different races of dragons.
Did you say some of them actually would be able to change color with their own scales?
Yes, there were some that were like camellias.
Chameleons.
They actually could change color. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
This concludes another episode of Kuntarkis. If you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, he has a website, which is etcconsciousness.com. You can also find us on Facebook. Simply search for Kuntarkis. And if you have any questions or would like to contact Kuntarkis about a consultation or a suggestion or comment or the like as it relates to this podcast, then please email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's all for now. Thanks so much for listening and stay tuned for more.